connect with somebody who then will give me something. Well, once again, it's not a selfless act in total, because I know I'm going to learn something from every connection.
Yeah.
And so I was super excited, because I'm like, I've seen you be so much more comfortable and so much more you.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of like, I don't know if there's a better way to say that. More authentic. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I got really excited.
Yeah.
And then you were just like, yeah.
Of course, man. That's the thing though. Like we're one in the same that way. I've always there are very few people in my life that I feel the kind of connection with that I feel with you. And it's not, it's the kind of thing that you can pick up at any time, and it's not going to matter where you're at in life or what that person is dealing with. There's still something just like deep there. It's just, yeah, I don't know. But it does, yeah, it is more of an authentic expression, I guess, of myself. I think I've become comfortable with who and what I am to some degrees versus trying to feel like I had to fit into like a certain grid or a certain path and those types of things. And it's, yeah, very much an ability to, yeah, just continue to adapt. Like it really all it is. Like again, I said it earlier, I don't think anyone should be the same person that they were 3 to 5 years ago. And I feel like I would almost be disappointed in myself if I was still that person. So I'm glad that for someone who doesn't like communicate with me regularly even, right? Like it's not like we talk on a regular basis and every day we see each other or anything like that. So it's nice that it can be seen by people who I care about recognizing it, because you're the kind of person who I would hope could see that type of thing in me.
Yes.
Whereas there's, 25 other people I know who I don't give a shit if they even recognize it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an amazing thing, just to be able to, just to know that it really is happening. Like I don't just feel it happening, it actually is.
Yes, and I know, and it is. That's one of the things, like, I'm not looking for the attaboy, attagirls anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still nice when you get them and you're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like an acknowledgement of you're on the right path. Yep. And it just, sometimes it might be just that little bit of, I was because, motivation wanes, and, discipline that's the reason it's discipline and not called fun. It's not, but as long as your inspiration and your why and your motive is to honor yourself, it's much more palatable and much easier to swallow and much easier to maintain discipline. And like, so one of the things I think I wanted to point out too, is I don't think it's a coincidence that your body metamorphosis has probably helped your brain metamorphosis, and vice versa. Because having worked with a lot of girls, high level, like, athletes, going to CrossFit Games and, Olympic weightlifters and, nationally ranked and all that stuff, the pressures that are on girls in general, it's psycho. And, like, because I'm a little more deep, I'm also aware, like one of my friends sat there and said, I left a job because basically somebody hit on me and they were my boss. And then I left it. I said, this is not acceptable. I honor myself and left the job, but now I feel guilty and I feel disappointed and I'm scared. And you're like, yeah. and like, girls have it so many ways of hard that I'm not even aware of. Like something as simple as how many guys have to walk to their car with keys through their fingers like they're gonna freaking Freddy Krueger somebody. Yeah. But that's almost a normal.
Like it's taught.
It's taught.
Because I was literally like, I honestly remember being told that as a child.
And that's real. Like that's like, we're gonna kind of give you some leg up on preventative trauma just because it has traumatized people, and this is like a potential. And you're like, yes, I understand. It's a lot of people are trying to get better, and it is getting better to an extent. And
Sure.
but having worked with a lot of girls who, I mean, partially I'm aware of it because my body, I didn't like my body for years and years and years and years. And so like I was aware of that, but for them to go from, no, you know what? I have muscle. And for me, I've always looked at girls with muscle as like, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also I'm at the gym looking at guys more than I am girls because I'm like, oh, my pecs don't look like that. Oh, my quads don't, but I have good calves. Like, you know what I mean? So Donna would make fun of me because she'd be like, I'm not worried about you dealing with girls in sports bras and booty shorts because you're looking at the guys with no shirts on. And I'm like, fair, that's fair. But it's a wonderful transition because you just feel like when they start lifting and they start, saying, you know what, I'm going to eat well. I don't, this is what I like to do. I like working out. I like having defined arms. And I like, I don't know, looking at myself in the mirror and not being so skinny that I'm like, oh, look at all my ribs. It's a xylophone. I might like saying, are those, is that 4 or 6? For me, it's usually like 1.5, maybe 2, but it's like, that is the transition of stopping the negative judgment to being like, you know what? Because once again, I'm sure your brain probably went, well, there's another thing that I'm weird about. Sure, I want to have muscle. Why? Well, why not? Because everything else about me is weird. What the shit?
Yeah. Well, that's it, right? Like, it's also multifaceted, and especially like it relates to women in a vastly multifaceted way, because there are obviously a billion things women are judged and criticized for on a regular basis. But it is nice to experience a transition where you figure out how to become comfortable with yourself and enjoy yourself. And I'm very lucky, because I've always been, as a female, I'm lucky because I've never truly experienced major body image issues. That's never been something that's hit me really hard. Just like every woman, obviously there are things I like and don't like about myself, but I've always enjoyed having muscle, and I've always enjoyed being strong. But I was also raised, not to think about my gender so much. So that's what makes me a lot different, I think, than other people too, because I really, I think if I was growing up in today's society and I had the option, there would be a chance that I maybe wouldn't even identify with a gender with the way I felt when I was growing up. So it's interesting to kind of experience that side of it too, because I do remember being told when I was young those things that were specific to women, and how to protect myself like a woman, and to put my keys in between my fingers if I ever had to, and carry these things with me, and be on alert and be prepared. But on the flip side of it, I didn't feel it the same way other women did. So although I was told and taught those things, admittedly, I think that I was kind of raised in a way that didn't express female norms. So I've never truly felt that scarcity. Like, I admittedly have never walked outside alone and really felt like scared for my life, or scared that I couldn't handle something that was coming at me. I've always maybe even like been egotistical in the way that I have thought of myself as a strong woman, and that I, could take on whatever I wanted to, and if I needed to, and I just kind of went with that sort of lionhead mindset behind it all. So it's interesting, yeah, because I am now starting to recognize and realize how different I was from a lot of women that I grew up with, and how my mindset was very, very different than theirs. And it's given me a lot of perspective, learning a lot more just about what women deal with, even being a woman. Like, it's very weird to have felt a lot of the other kind of pressure, but not necessarily that stuff. So I felt all the like societal pressure about being a female in the way that it was pressure on me, and I didn't innately feel like I was supposed to do all of those things, like even like the stupid stuff to like cook and clean and want to have children and do all this stuff in this like proper way that a woman should want it. It was just weird to feel like I was supposed to want it, but not.
Yeah.
And feel like I was supposed to be all these things, but like naturally it wasn't there, like even, I don't know how much you know about my life, really,
Not,
like growing
not,
up and
I
stuff.
mean, a lot of unsaid stuff, but you
Yeah,
just like almost, and I don't want, it's gonna sound like I think you'll take it the right way. Like I didn't care because I was just like, but, so I don't know a whole bunch
yeah.
because
And
I
I think
figured
I
if
got
you
that
would have talked to me about it, I was comfortable knowing that you probably would then talk to me about it.
exactly. And I think that's part of kind of why we get along on that level, right? We know kind of what matters and what doesn't matter. And yeah, there are things you can learn about a person that are just strictly fact, and that is what it is, and it kind of just puts pieces of the puzzle together. They're not pieces that necessarily, make up the entire puzzle kind of thing.
Correct.
So yeah, it's interesting because like I definitely grew up in a way where I felt like I grew up very, very ashamed of who I was. Let's put it that way. So because I was not that normal female, like I consider myself pansexual. So like I don't necessarily see gender in a partner. I don't seek that in any way. It doesn't matter to me what sex organ a person has. So that was really hard growing up too, because like there were all these things that were so different about me that I wasn't supposed to be and wasn't supposed to have, and all these weird feelings that just were shameful in a way, especially growing up in Simcoe, Ontario, where you've experienced somewhat, when you're not a quote unquote norm in society, you're just completely like shunned, and it's very shameful to kind of feel like you don't belong. So I do think that a big part of why you've seen me grow over the last couple of years too is because I don't live there anymore. I don't feel like I fit into that sort of a community. I don't feel like the community there is like even open enough to accept the kind of person that I am. So that I think plays a big role in it too, like my ability to recognize that and how toxic that place was for me, and be able to just extract myself and say, no, like I'm now like live in a place, I don't know if you've ever been to Guelph, Ontario, but I've never felt so much at home. Like this is the most like eco-friendly, open, diverse community that I've ever experienced in Ontario. And it's just so different to feel connected to a community that accept, like you feel like you could throw anything at them and they'll accept you, versus growing up in a community where like I spent years and years hiding who I was and crying about, not being able to tell my parents that my best friend was actually my girlfriend. Like, how do you get it's weird to kind of stay in that kind of a setting and grow. I think realizing the toxicity of it made a huge difference in my ability to deal with the trauma of what I went through growing up there.
Yeah, I think that's because what you did though is you realized, okay, there's a lot I can't control, but I can control, moving out. And even if but like what you said, that connection, it was the community, once again, it allowed you to me, it allowed you to let the accepting of yourself wash over you for long enough so that it was deeper for you. And then it was like, okay, now I can go back or relate, and I understand because I'm a different person. Because like you said, 3 to 5 years, and really 3 to 5 months, you should be a different person.
Yes.
But it gives you, it's the same reason why people are like, man, you were in drug treatment for 26 months. Yeah. And if I didn't stay in for 26 months, I don't think I would still be sober at 29 years, because I left while in lockup inpatient. I ran across a freeway in the middle of the day in rush hour or in the middle morning in rush hour because I jumped out of a moving car. Like, sometimes it takes what it takes. And I know that sounds trite or cliche, but it kind of takes what it takes. And then if you're given, if you were available, because you then said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead, and I think part of it too is that Mark was fairly accepting, and he likes you, and he's like you, like all you, like the weird you, the interesting you, the cool you, the haircut you, the strong you, the sassy crabby you. Like, I know that you too, and but part of the reason I like that too.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you were literally, I was like, she's gonna get in a fight with somebody.
I was surprised it wasn't you.
Oh, I liked it. I liked you because I was like, oh, I'm going to push you. But I didn't push you just to push you for pushing's sake. I pushed you because I was like, dude, you are a lot. Like, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Like I said, if I feel that connection with somebody, I get excited and I get like.
I feel the exact same way. That's literally like, it's hard to explain, but there are very few people in my life that have had the same kind of impact that you have had on me. Like, it's just a weird, yeah, and it has nothing to do with what you do or what, like, the job we were doing when it was happening. It is just completely, yeah, that ability. I think in a way we probably kind of pushed each other too, right? Like, I enjoyed that you pushed me, and that's what I want. And the fact that, we didn't have those surface conversations like you were saying before. Like, it's so much deeper than that. And yeah, some people just can't do that level, I guess.
It because it tests their status quo. Yeah. And they're not wanting to change that right now. And that's once again, that's not a judgment, but that's why, like, I think it was good that you said people here like status quo, and that's not good or bad. That's just what they like. And I don't want that. So let's try here. And you're like, status quo is testing status quo. Like, that's pretty cool. Because that's why I wasn't satisfied with the gym the way it was. And I was like, you know what? I want to bring in powerlifters. I want to bring in Olympic weightlifters. I want to bring in people to do mindset training. I want to bring in movement specialists. I want to bring in, like, massage therapists, meditation, life coaches. And because that, like you said, understanding that everybody's given certain circumstances on a daily basis. It does not have to dictate that's what you are. And okay, we got to go pretty soon because I didn't bring a battery, and I realized I don't know how long we've been talking, but it's awesome, and I appreciate it. So I'm gonna probably end up putting this into 2 videos. If somebody can show me how, I'm gonna do the first video and then do this one because I like this half we've talked about. But yeah, I like I said, I think just valuing and honoring who you are, the only way it becomes I don't accept it is when it's at the detriment of somebody else.
Yes.
And you were never that type. Like, it was almost like Haley. The reason why I like Haley so much is because she's a lot more reserved, a lot more quiet. She's a lot more but she's very introspective, and she's very aware, and she's actually sensitive. I probably shouldn't be telling the whole world, whoever's going to listen to this, but she would get mad about it too, but agree. But that's why I connected with her too, because she it was, there's a lot more going on, but she didn't do it as, she didn't specifically push away people. Like, you guys still would go to things and do stuff, but you might not just be, you wouldn't talk trash about other people, or you wouldn't, it was
all encompassing, welcoming. Like, it's a whole equality type thing, like, it's not, there's no reason to, a lack of ego maybe, like, what, like, nothing makes me better than the next person, and people who realize that is like, that's just bar none.
Yes, and that's, I think, that's what I think a lot of people are struggling with in general with this whole situation. It's like, well, who do we blame and who's better and who's this? And you're like, that's poverty mindset. Like,
Yeah.
if I have, you can't have as well.
Yes. Oh, I know. I've said to so many people, like literally like clients and stuff, when they're talking to me about a decision that they've made, I have literally said to a couple people, what makes you so much better than me that you get to do that and feel okay about it, but I don't? I'm like, why is that okay? I'm like, if you feel okay about, going out and risking your best friend's grandmother's life, then that's on your morals, not on.
Yes, that's not on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I am getting taught even more that when I've connected with somebody, it's because if I value myself, that they were in connection with my values, and they were not that you're better or worse than anybody else, but that it was just, yep, that's more what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that deepness, and that it's okay, like that reality of if we haven't talked for 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and then we can not have a conversation since a funeral
Yeah.
and be here. Oh, I
Incredible.
think you're
Oh no, you're